We're outside Ypsi Alehouse in downtown Ypsilanti, Michigan. It's a new microbrewery, but it has ties to a long history. It takes up the first floor of an historic building that was once the Huron Hotel, which opened in 1923. And its brewmeister, Ted Badgerow, has been brewing beer since he helped start one of the first modern craft breweries in the state. I'll be talking with owner Dave Roberts about their plans for this brew pub baby. Then afterwards, we'll be talking about a book by Jamie Gordon called Lord of Misrule, which is the story of a down-and-out racetrack in West Virginia. It won the National Book Award in 2010. So come on, let's go get a good beer. I get a rush out of talking about a good book, and there's little I enjoy more than a good beer. You put the two together, my friend, and you may have just created a brand of happiness. I'm Brian Cox, and this is Books Over Beer, where I get together with a couple of guests, we enjoy a few pints at a local brewery, and we talk about a book we recently read. Come on, I've got a good book. Let's go get a good beer. Hi, it's Brian Cox, and I'm here with Ypsi Alehouse owner Dave Roberts and his tap manager Andy Nordstrom. Thanks for having us here. We really appreciate it.
Hey, thanks for coming.
Why don't you talk to me a little bit about starting Ypsi Alehouse? I love the location here in downtown Ypsilanti. Was being downtown important?
Yes. When we started looking around, we actually looked at a number of different locations. This was back in 2014. And we looked at a number of locations in Ypsi because we wanted to be located in Ypsi. We thought it was a good opportunity to be here. And we looked at fundamentally two places, one in Depot Town and one in downtown. And we felt that the downtown operation area was well suited for what we wanted to do.
Yeah, it's really nice. You've got real great street view here that you can see out the windows. And I know this building is an historic one, and it was a former hotel. And you guys did quite a bit of renovating.
Right.
What was that like? What did you have to do?
Well, with regards to the building was built in 1922 and opened on January 1st, 1923 as a hotel. It was 4 stories. And it was really a grand place. It was funded by the city people getting together and putting money into kind of pooling their resources because they felt they needed a nice hotel down here. And it was very modern for its day. Each room had its own bathroom, which was
fancy.
Yeah, fancy stuff.
That's great.
And so it made a big hit. And on the first floor there was a restaurant, and anyway, over time, a number of different companies had run the restaurant as part of the hotel, and we ended up with a facility that could seat 150 plus people, a nice bar, and 3 walk-in coolers and a walk-in freezer.
That's great.
So it was a good starting point. I mean, the place, when we first toured it, we found that it was a mess. I mean, and I told the realtor, I said, no, this is not. We have to keep looking.
Right.
But after multiple visits, we found that it was a good opportunity,
Yeah.
and met our requirements.
Yeah, you saw what it could be.
Right.
But yeah, one of the things you've got here. This is the original flooring.
Yes.
From the hotel or from the restaurant, one of the later restaurants?
We think it's the original flooring from the original hotel.
Beautiful.
And there are approximately, I think there's 5 or 6 different types of tile in here, including a wet set marble hexagon floor in the back portion behind us.
Oh, okay.
And you can take a look at that later if you're interested. But it's something that they probably haven't done in the last 75 years because it's very expensive.
Right.
And it's very flat. Andrew did a lot of work on the construction when he joined our project in the middle of 2015. and he can talk to you a little bit about what the different challenges were on the construction.
Yeah, what did you find?
It was definitely an experience. It was really cool. We started with the process, and every week or so we would find something new. And the original plan wasn't to have the floors like this, and we started renovating the floors, and we uncovered this floor. So then we kind of had to change the whole program once again.
You're like, we're going to keep this.
Yeah,
Yeah,
and
that's great.
You know, and this is the true character of the building, so we should stick with this.
Yeah, love
And with the building being so old, we kept running into little things. It was definitely a very cool experience. I guess just how the building, we had to work around the building. And
Yes.
it was very, very cool.
Yes, that's wonderful. That's great. Well, one of the things that I did notice immediately was that it almost has three distinct feels, and I really like this. In the front area, you have some TVs where you can catch the game. You've got some dartboards. It has just a hint of like a sports bar feel. You know what I mean? Like I feel like I can come, watch the game, and have a beer. That's great. And then you have this middle area that has a restaurant feel. It has regular seating, the street view, very nice. I can come, have dinner. Then you have this third section. It's kind of tucked away in the front, interestingly enough. It's a little more of an intimate lounge. I'm curious, was that an intentional design, or did that come out of, well, this is the space we've got to work around. Is that how that evolved?
Well, we were working with a designer out of Kalamazoo, SKP Design, and Sandra is great on helping us envision what we were trying to accomplish. Our overall goal and our feel that we're shooting for is a feel of a kind of a European local gastropub,
Yeah.
and have those types of connections with the community. And so we wanted to design in a small sports bar area where the people who wanted to watch a game could come and watch a game and enjoy it on a big screen TV. But we didn't want to be a sports bar to compete with the big ones where they have multiple TVs, multiple rows of TVs on a wall so you can watch every NFL game simultaneously. And then another part of the pub orientation is having the dartboard area for people to be a little more active than sitting and watching the sports. Then we have our main seating area where for the people who are just coming for dinner and conversation can come. And then we have what we've been calling the quiet area, only because we don't have any sound that's shipped into there.
Right. Well, for my purposes, just so you know, Dave, for Books Over Beer, that's where I can go, have a beer, and read my book.
Right.
And I love that. I love that I can navigate through here depending on what I'm in the mood for that day. You know, if I want to catch a game, I can read my book in the quiet area. That's great.
Right. And that's what that area is designed for. When we were doing research on the different types of areas, we did go to some restaurants that had kind of the lounge seating, cocktail seating area, and they found them to be very successful.
Right.
So we thought we would try that here. What we're doing now is booking a lot of parties in there.
Sure, I can see that. Yeah, that's nice. Talk to me a little bit about, I know you have this priority for local sourcing, and another business philosophy that you have that I was thrilled to hear about was paying staff a living wage. I thought that was great. And so there's, no tipping, I guess, necessary. Talk to me about the business philosophy behind Ypsi Alehouse.
Well, the business philosophy behind the Ypsi Alehouse is really oriented towards what we think where the future is.
Mm-hmm.
And the future with higher wages, and let me back up. I mean, that future is now appearing with higher wages.
Right.
I mean, you see some demand for higher wages for fast food workers, but there's also a shift if you start looking at what's happening in California with regards to a higher, the higher wages for restaurant employees that are now eligible for the standard minimum wage as
Right.
opposed to a specific minimum wage for local or for restaurant employees because they get tips.
Yeah.
And so as that cost rises, then your whole business model is gonna shift. And we thought we would get ahead of that and join the pioneers of this new business model. There's some restaurants that are now going this way in New York, and they're the Crab Shack. Joe's Crab Shack is also gone to a no tipping policy. And what it does is it does a variety of things from both the business perspective and from an employee perspective. And I'll have Andrew talk about the employee perspective, but from a business perspective, we were also working towards a pub service. That means that we weren't gonna have servers waiting on tables, that you would come to a central point. For that allows us to have more of a focus on a kind of a different level of service, because it's, again, as wages go up, we're gonna have reduced labor in the organization. And so what we do is that the people that'll be working are working for those higher wages and working more effectively and efficiently.
Right.
And so because that's kind of the wave of the future, then that ties into the no tipping, because you don't want to go to do like a pub service and then tip a standard 20% per se.
Right.
And so then that allows us to have that kind of, from a customer perspective, a flexibility about, allows them to have a more simpler approach to to dining out.
Right.
So they don't have to worry about
Right.
tips at the end
Keeps
of the
it-
night.
yes, right.
And so you go what right up front, which is again kind of this European approach where in Europe there's tipping is a very minimal thing.
Yeah.
It's not a payment of wages.
Right. Well, it also allows me to get one at last beer.
Yes,
Yeah.
there you go, there you go.
So does it, from the employee perspective, Andy, does it breed loyalty and a sense of a little greater sense of security, or what's that experience like for you?
Well, from the employee perspective, a lot of restaurants, because they only pay their staff so little, they are able to grossly overstaff. So it'll be a Monday afternoon and you'll have 10 people working. Maybe only 2 of them will make money, and then the rest waste their day and get sent home. There's also a gray area with what employees can do for you when they're paid $3 an hour. But a lot of restaurants, if it's slow, they say, hey, clean this, do this, and the servers kind of respond with, well, you're only paying me $3 an hour. Paying people a living wage really gets rid of a lot of those issues.
Yeah.
People, instead of just a server and just bouncing around, you're an employee. You have an idea of what your income is. You aren't relying on random people to pay your children or your bills. And it really it lets you plant some roots.
Yeah.
And be, I guess, a longer time working.
Yeah, I love it. I love the idea as a customer to come to a place where I know that they care enough to, they're taking care of their people, and I would want to be a part of that. I'd want to contribute to that business's success for that reason alone. You know what I mean? I think it's a real great selling point. So what plans do you have for the future of Ypsi Alehouse? Where do you see it being 5 years down the road?
We see us doing a more along the lines of evolving our model to be a local neighborhood bar.
Right.
And meeting point. And so people can come in for a couple of beers and be on their way.
You can join the dart club.
You can join the dart club. You can it's just a relaxation zone.
I can bring my book club over
You
here
can
to the
bring your
quiet
book
corner.
club. Yeah, and we actually have a outreach ministry type thing event going on there now that they wanted to be located.
Oh.
I don't know if that's beer Bible study or what?
Books over beer is great. Bible over beer, that's not a bad idea. That might be
Yeah.
a spin-off we have to think about.
There you go.
I like
There you go.
That's good.
So, yeah, that's, I mean, we just are gonna evolve the model. We're gonna, you know, we're just gonna evolve the model to see where it goes and make adjustments to what meet the needs of the local people in Ypsilanti.
Good, good. Let's head over to the bar where we'll talk a little bit about the beers they have on tap. All right, here we are at the bar with Dave, and you're going to talk to me a little bit about the beers you have on tap. Why don't we start with the Blue Racer? What's
Yeah.
the Blue Racer?
The Blue Racer is a blueberry honey wheat, and the blueberry is just a very delicate
Yeah.
flavor into it. It is made entirely of Michigan ingredients, Michigan sourced hops, malts, and honey, which comes from the thumb.
Yeah, you know, it's a beautiful kinetic sculpture, you know, and not only does it look beautiful, it tastes beautiful. And one of the things I do like about it is that the blueberry taste is subtle. It isn't overpowering at all.
Exactly.
Yeah,
I mean, there's
it's
some
really
other
nice.
beers out there where the fruit flavoring is very powerful, and then you can only drink about half of it,
Right,
and you're
yeah.
like,
This is
ready to
very
move
nice.
on.
This is a beautiful.
Very subtle.
How about Moon Eye? I love the name. What's a Moon Eye?
A moon eye is a fish that's very common in the area, and it is a fighting fish.
Oh, okay.
So when anglers get it, it's known as the tarpon of inland lakes.
So your Moon Eye is going to put me on my butt after a few, huh?
Yeah. Well,
Is that it?
it's an IPA, and the IPA style of beer is one of the most popular. So it is one of our most popular beers. We think it's a high quality brew, and people love it.
Good, great. How about the Woodruff's Porter? Now I know Woodruff, that comes from what, Ypsilanti?
Yep, Ypsilanti's earlier name prior to Ypsilanti was
Yeah.
known as Woodruff's Grove. So
Okay.
you kind of had Anns Arbor and Woodruff's Grove, and at one point they decided to change it over to Ypsilanti. And we wanted to name one of our beers as a tribute to the earlier period in Ypsilanti, and so we put that in as a Woodruff's Porter.
Yeah.
And our porter is kind of a recipe ale that you could have gotten 150 years ago.
That's great.
It's got a nice smoky taste. We add some of our Michigan honey, sourced honey, and the people who like porters really generally have found our porters very, very delightful.
Wonderful, wonderful. Okay, the last one is the Isle Royal. It's the one I'm going to be drinking during our discussion. It's also an IPA.
That's right. It's an IPA. It's kind of a new category IPA, what we call a new category, because it's an amber IPA.
Oh, okay.
And so it's got a somewhat different taste than the Moon Eye, but it's in the spectrum and kind of style set of an IPA.
Okay,
And
good.
we named it after the national park, so
There you go. It's got to be good. Well, I'm looking forward to sampling it. All right. Well, I've got a good beer. Let's go talk about a good book.